So guys, there's a question I've been thinking a lot about over the past couple days, and I know you have as well. Where is Joe Biden? In this moment, America and much of the world is clamoring for effective and inspiring and reassuring leadership during the current crisis. And Joe Biden isn't providing one iota of it. Joe Biden, according to many in the media, in the Democratic elite, in the political establishment, is already locked in as the Democratic nominee. It doesn't matter to them that Bernie Sanders is only a couple hundred delegates behind and that there's still dozens of more states to vote. In their perspective, Biden is already the nominee. And so it has to be said that at a time where Donald Trump is failing to provide effective leadership, the American people deserve to hear and see and experience an alternative, and they're not getting that from the presumptive Democratic nominee. The last time I believe we saw Joe Biden, guys, was after the recent primary results, where Florida and Illinois and Arizona had their votes. Joe Biden came out and spoke. And this is how that night ended.
Thank you all. Thank you all for listening. Oh. Thanks. Okay.
So as we can clearly see, Joe Biden's cognitive decline, his mental health issues are on display. Yet again, you have his wife have to come out and remind him that the event is over and he should leave the scene. And then when she walks out, she has to call his name before he snaps back into it and follows her off the camera. That is extremely concerning, and yet again, guys, it shows that I have real doubts that Joe Biden has the wherewithal to run a presidential campaign and, most importantly, serve effectively as president. And this is why we're not seeing Joe Biden. We're not seeing Joe Biden because every time Joe Biden is in front of a camera, there are severe drawbacks to his presidential image. This is why Biden will do an event and speak for 7 minutes. This is why Biden wants to control, as much as is possible, every single interaction with the media and or public, because he will embarrass himself, because he'll threaten to slap a voter or some other such thing. But that's not good enough right now. Hiding away, hoping that people will just pick you because you're not Donald Trump, is not effective right now. America needs leadership. They need somebody who is going to challenge the current status quo immediately and how it fails workers, and they need someone who will pledge to build a new social order to prevent a similar crisis from happening again. Or if it does happen again, that the effects on the people in terms of their health and their economic well-being is far, far weaker. That's what they need. And they're not getting it from Biden. And guys, they're not even really getting it from the Democrats in the House and in the Senate. There are some great proposals coming from people like Ilhan Omar and AOC and others. There are some good ones. But the leadership has largely failed to push for a clear, universal payment that will benefit all Americans. Yes, it might mean that rich people get a few extra dollars they don't need, but right now, poor people need money immediately, and the Democrats like Nancy Pelosi were hemming and hawing about means testing while the people needed money right now. I get it, the Republicans control the Senate. I get it, Donald Trump is the president. But if you're not going hard at them with clear proposals that are unambiguously designed to help the poor, working, and middle-class majority in the United States, and daring the president to veto it or the Republicans to vote it down, and publicize this openly and clearly, you're going to lose the next election because the American people will see you as ineffectual and not caring about them. And that's the risk for Pelosi and Schumer and Biden, who as leaders are failing. But do you want to know who isn't failing right now? It's Bernie goddamn Sanders. Bernie Sanders is the person we all need. There was a great Jacobin headline that said that if this current health crisis could be imagined as a conflict, then Bernie Sanders is the general that we need to lead the fight in this conflict. That's a great way of putting it, because not only does Bernie Sanders have the ideas, the policies, the philosophy, the worldview, which has been proven unequivocally right as this crisis has rolled out, but Bernie Sanders is out there pretty much every single day, even though, quote unquote, he's lost the presidential primary, showing leadership about how we can immediately and over the medium and long term help regular working class people. He's proposed universal $2,000 payouts. He's proposed all sorts of freezes to ensure that working class people, whether it's on student loans or other things, aren't forced to choose between their necessities and their debts in this time of crisis. Bernie Sanders has also made a very good point that this is why Medicare for all, universal access to healthcare regardless of your income or status or what have you, is the best way to ensure not only universal dignity, but to fight an emergent crisis as we're seeing. And Bernie Sanders has been putting this ahead, not just of the daily news cycle, but of his own presidential campaign. You guys remember the clip I showed on the channel a couple days ago, where the media wanted to make their press conference with Bernie Sanders all about the primary and the delegates and the vote split, and will Bernie drop out? And Bernie made it very clear, and he was like, I'm dealing with an effing global crisis here, get off my back, this is more important than delegate counts. And Bernie's 100% right. And as I noted last night, Bernie on his website isn't even really fundraising for Bernie 2020. He's fundraising for charities and initiatives that are helping to alleviate the current crisis. That's leadership in practical and visionary terms. And you're only really getting it from Bernie Sanders, at least among the people that could credibly be the next president of the United States. So folks certainly have reason to criticize the Republican leadership. Their approach has been draconian, it's been haphazard, it's been based in conspiracy, and even when they try to help people in a limited sense, it's still based fundamentally in inequity and in a system that's unfair to the poorest and most vulnerable. There's no doubt about that. But Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer have failed to win the media narrative, win the popular narrative with a working class and middle class centered alternative. And they will lose the next election. There is still time to make Bernie Sanders the Democratic nominee and have him, with his democratic socialist vision and his day-to-day concern with working people, become the nominee and the next president. Make the right choice, America. The time is counting down quickly. If you want a leader that will do right for working class folks, it's only Bernie Sanders right now.